Thanks for joining us. I'm Brad Stevens.
And I'm Carolyn Long. Tonight, 31 people are free from human trafficking. Homeland Security Investigations announced a successful sting operation this morning.
Abby Dodge spoke with members of one organization that's helping some of these victims, and she's live for us right now in downtown. Abby, where did they find these people?
Well, officers, troopers, and investigators were on both sides of the state line over the last couple of weeks. They were in Wichita, Independence, and Kansas City. We talked to the executive director of a local advocacy group, and she says finding these victims is just the first step. Chris Wade with Justice Project Kansas City says they are actively helping people investigators found. She also wants the community to be more aware of this problem.
We want people to understand that any kids are at risk, any adults are at risk, anyone is at risk for human trafficking.
After last week's operation, 31 people are no longer at risk. Homeland Security tells us 14 of the 31 are kids. The youngest, just 4 years old.
The younger the victim, the more money the trafficker can make.
Justice Project and other groups say it's important for the public to know and acknowledge the young age of some of these victims.
That's what we want. We want a very holistic, well-rounded approach to this.
With 82 arrests ranging from narcotics violations to commercial sex trafficking, Wade is focused on their victims.
Then we can be right there to talk with them and say, hey, you know, we're the guides to the way out. We've been through many of the same kinds of abuses that you have.
Wade says sometimes people aren't initially happy to be found, and a way out isn't easy.
So they really have a lot of things stacked against them that take some time to sort through.
According to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, in 2019, there were 233 cases of human trafficking reported in Missouri. And then on the Kansas side in 2019, there were 92 cases. And there are resources available for people who need help or want to report human trafficking. We've got some of those numbers on your screen right now. The National Human Trafficking Hotline is 1-888-373-788. You can also text help or info to 233-733. We're going to put a link to these resources and more on our website, kctv5.com. Live in Kansas City, Abby Dodge, KCTV5 News.
Hard to believe it's so widespread in our area. Abby, thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
This is the quickest way to clear out stuck poop.
I have to poop, but it feels stuck. Stop!
We will hear more about that story in just a moment, but it's really devastating reality as prosecutors of human trafficking have really increased dramatically, especially in recent years. In fact, over a decade, the number of people prosecuted at the federal level for human trafficking, it rose 84%. In 2020, it was more than 1,300 people.
So tonight we are taking the time and going in depth on the topic to explain what police are doing to stop it, how local organizations are helping, and how it impacts victims. Today, KCPD joined an initiative to stop trafficking in its tracks. The department will do random commercial vehicle and truck stop checks through January 13th. It will also work with Relentless Pursuit in Liberty to provide resources to those who are feeling helpless.
And letting victims of this horrific crime know that we see you and we are here to help you. We are here to meet you right where you're at.
Officers will also work with Truckers Against Trafficking throughout this campaign.
Because I've seen a lot of darkness that a lot of people think don't exist, but it does.
A heart-wrenching plea to pay attention as an Arab woman shares the horrifying world that often lingers in the shadows. A survivor story that we want to warn some of you may find disturbing.
And for her privacy, we will be concealing her identity. KSHB 41 News reporter Leslie Delaspore shares her message.
It's a secret society closed off from the world. I thought I was going to die in it.
Mary, a human trafficking survivor whose identity we have chosen to disclose for safety, says her trauma began when she was a teenager.
I remember my uncle coming on to me with a bottle of Jack Daniels, and I fought myself off of him, off of me. And I told my grandma she told me to keep it a secret.
Looking for love outside of family, Mary found something much worse.
And not knowing that I was getting into a situation where I was being groomed, I end up running away and I'm going to a pimp in his girl's house.
Later sold into a world she didn't know existed.
I've seen a lot of darkness that a lot of people think don't exist, but it does. There was times where I was like, I'm just ready to die. And something will always happen to where God saved me. And that's what kind of gave me purpose and a hope of getting out.
And she did.
For me, from being in that life, I will never look at the world ever the same. Like, sometimes I'm like, am I going to be able to survive out here? Am I really? Sometimes I think that I was made for that, to be somebody's slave.
But now Mary has a new purpose, not only for her future, but also for that of her daughters.
I'm excited to get out, to have my own place, to decorate my daughter's room, to have my coffee pot in a certain spot that I want. Those little things mean a lot to me.
In Cass County, Leslie Delaspore, KSHB 41 News.
Now, we've shared only part of Mary's story. You can find the rest on kshb.com. Just click on this story.
In light of that story, we wanted to know just how big of a problem is this, so we did a little digging. According to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, in 2021, there were 85 cases in Kansas involving 138 victims. The vast majority of those were sex trafficking. Across the state line in Missouri, those numbers were even higher. In 2021, the Show Me State had 240 cases involving 327 victims, again, mostly involving sex trafficking. However, it's worth noting some of those cases in both states involved forced labor. So please, if you know someone, if you are a victim of human trafficking, there is help available. There's a 24/7 confidential hotline you can call. That number's on your screen right now. It's 888-373-7888. You can also send text to this number, 233-733.
This is the world's first reusable cotton swab. It can remove up to 10 times more earwax.
Information is right there for you, so go to our website and check it out.
New at 10, KCTV5 News is taking a closer look at prostitution and how it's changing in Kansas City. Here's a look at last year's numbers. More than 300 arrests for solicitation, patronizing, or promoting prostitution. Police discovered 8 cases of human trafficking. Our investigative reporter Angie Racono joins us now live from downtown with a closer look at Kansas City's Vice Squad and their undercover work. Angie?
Well, Brad, we've been with police as they're combing the streets and at hotels where they're busting men and women for buying and selling sex. Tonight, you'll hear from the women who say they need the money and from police who say this is far from a victimless crime.
There's no explanation for it. I just do it.
I gotta get money to be able to take care of my kids.
There ain't nothing you can do about it, you know? You gotta stop worrying about what I'm doing and mind your own business.
It all boils down to money one way or the other.
If you think prostitution happens under the cover of darkness, think again. Here's Kansas City's Vice Squad in broad daylight arresting men and women. Some shared their stories with us.
I just had a really rough life, that's all. I mean, I really don't know how much I can really explain it. That's basically sums it up. I just had a really rough life.
Are drugs a part of it?
They have been. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie.
This woman is a mother with a real job besides prostitution.
I'm trying to keep my job and do what the hell I'm supposed to do to stay out of trouble.
We even met a grandmother who's fighting to stay clean. Does it get scary out here?
Yeah, it's a risk you take every day.
Why do you do it then?
I don't know. It sucks. It sucks, okay? Because I was in the process of going to Nebraska to go see my daughter because she's moving to Mexico next month, and now I failed them again.
It's kind of like being in quicksand. It's hard to get out of it.
Sergeant Brad Duman has seen all of this before. The common pattern of women being sucked into the sex trade. It's about money, but when you peel back the layers, there's generally drug addiction, and sometimes women are forced or tricked into this terrible lifestyle.
We try to make sure that we get them those resources and make sure that they understand that there's help out there and that they can get out of this type of work.
Prostitution is still on the streets, but much of it takes place online and inside hotels. A recent sting highlights how busy just one day in Kansas City can be. This is surveillance video when the Vice Squad combs online ads and sees who shows up to buy sex or sell it. In one day, police bust 4 women and 8 men. Lunchtime is busy, and that's because many men can sneak off undetected. Dumit says he's no longer surprised by who's buying or selling sex in this city. He's seen men who are blue-collar workers and CEOs, young and old. And the women selling sex, it's a diverse crowd too.
We've had, teachers, real estate agents, and I mean, you name it, we've had it. There's really no end to it. Nothing surprises me.
The leader of the Vice Squad says this is not a victimless crime. You often find human trafficking and narcotics when you're working these prostitution stings. And he points out that the women are often fearful of being beaten, attacked, or robbed. And the men, it's interesting, those cited often didn't bring in their phones or their wallets because they were afraid the women would rob them. Reporting live in downtown Kansas City, Angie Riccono, KCTV5 News.
All right, thank you, Angie. And as she mentioned in the story, we think so many times that most of this takes place at night, and this was all happening during the day.
Yeah, you saw how busy it was
in
that hotel room.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Brad Stevens.
And I'm Carol.
Zorro.com knows that every job is important. And for more than 10 years, Zorro.com has been
the more we divert resources to investigate and prosecute human trafficking, the more we find.
News we can all be grateful for tonight. Law enforcement agencies across the state say they've made a big dent in sex crimes against children and human trafficking.
Nearly 24 Utah agencies took part in a huge nationwide effort. News specialist Keith McCord was there as they detailed their results. Keith?
Sex crimes against children and human trafficking have been going on for years, but it's much more prevalent now as predators use the internet to try to find their latest victims. And it's those people that the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force focuses on. 24 agencies in Utah spent the last 90 to 120 days tracking down those who are trying to lure young children. Across the nation, more than 1,300 arrests have been made during this crackdown. 71 of those were here in Utah. The suspects face a number of felony charges, including human trafficking, manufacturing of child pornography. During the operation, 6 children between the ages of 5 and 12 were rescued. As for those arrested, their legal cases here in Utah are in various stages right now. The law enforcement officers involved in the crackdown want to make it very clear that if you think crimes like this do not happen in Utah, think again. It's out there, and the ICAC task force will continue to search for other offenders.
We will find you. It may take us a little while, but we're going to spend every day with these task forces doing nothing but that. If you're looking to solicit those services, to exploit those services, to benefit from those criminal enterprises, then we're going to try to find you.
The law enforcement agencies also stress that it's very important for community involvement here. If you see something unusual, say something. A lot of this activity is going on behind closed doors, but if you see something in your neighborhood that just doesn't look quite right, contact the authorities. There are a number of tip lines through the AG's office and the ICAC website. At the Capitol, I'm Keith McCord reporting.
Keith, thank you. It was a
Teenage girl is safe tonight, and 4 people are under arrest charged with human trafficking.
The girl told police that she was forced to have sex with multiple men in a hotel room in Marietta. Fox 5's Portia Bruner joins us live with the story. And Portia, how did police find the girl?
Yeah, really disturbing details here. They say it came from a 911 call from the 15-year-old girl. They say they are commending her for making that brave call yesterday morning.
The allegations against these 4 sex trafficking suspects are as disturbing as they are heartbreaking. Marietta police say the young women and young men are charged with trafficking a person for labor or sexual servitude. And police say each one played a critical role in what allegedly happened to a 15-year-old runaway who called 911 from this motel off Northwest Parkway early Monday morning.
The 15-year-old stated that she had been forced to have sex with multiple men and that she needed help.
Officer Chuck McPhillamy says police arrived and rescued the girl who had managed to get out of the room to make the 911 call. He says detectives discovered the 15-year-old was held here over the weekend and feared she would be killed if she tried to escape. Warrants secured by Marietta police indicate 22-year-old Kamari Bolden did the girl's makeup in one motel room, photographed her, and helped post pictures in online escort ads, then set up so-called dates for the girl to perform sex with unknown men for $80 in a nearby room. Warrants indicate 17-year-old Laura Waugh was photographed with the 15-year-old and offered to perform sex acts with the girl in online ads.
But the whole incident speaks to how courageous she was to be able to call 911 and say, I'm in this predicament and I need help.
22-year-old Kenneth Thomas is charged with pimping and keeping a place of prostitution from August 17th to August 20th. And 26-year-old Douglas White is being held on the same charges. Police warrants indicate he and Thomas worked together to recruit the 15-year-old, rent the motel rooms, and have 3 men show up to have sex with the 15-year-old on 3 separate occasions.
Piece all of that together, and that explains why we're charging them with human trafficking.
So I did get a chance to speak to management at the motel today. They declined to comment on camera, but said they do not condone what was allegedly happening at this motel, and say they reach out to police whenever they see any signs of what appears to be sex trafficking. As far as that 15-year-old girl, police say they have reached out to her family and that they are making sure that she is safe and out of harm's way. Reporting live from Marietta Police Headquarters, Portia Bruner, Fox 5 News.
Zorro.com knows that every
Did you hear her say she's like, I need $13 in order to get a room? And so she's like, how are you going to make it? I'm going to hustle.
Tonight, we are taking you out on the streets, showing you what human trafficking and exploitation looks like right here in Utah.
Our Kelly Vaughn joining us with the start of an in-depth look at who's involved, why it's growing so fast here in our state, and what we can all do to help stop it.
Trafficking is happening right in front of us, and it's moving beyond just downtown, and it's targeting our vulnerable populations. And these traffickers are getting away with it because we don't know what to look for. There's the Utah we all know, and there's the Utah we don't, or don't want to know.
Utah needs to wake up, because I know they've all seen it. I know they've all seen it in their safe neighborhood, and they were shocked by seeing it.
Amber Keel knows all too well what trafficking looks like. She lived it for years.
I was married and living in Midvale and had just had a baby.
She says her history of rape and substance abuse are vulnerabilities that were targeted when her marriage ended. She got involved in a new relationship that turned violent. A year later, when she was entirely isolated from family and friends, the sexual exploitation began.
It started in massage parlors and internet ads.
From 2011 to 2016, Amber was beaten, raped, forced to perform sex acts, sometimes 20 times a day.
Everyone around me was under the impression that I was choosing a lot of this. They didn't understand the severity of the situation, and I was classified as mentally ill, addicted, and a criminal.
She couldn't just walk away. She had no support. Her addiction was being exploited. Her family threatened. This is all happening where again?
Salt Lake City is where I was trafficked out of, all of Salt Lake County. And then I ventured out into different counties and different states.
Utah is actually a hub for human trafficking.
In history classes, they'll teach you that Utah is the crossroads of the West. And unfortunately, we are now the crossroads of human trafficking pipelines.
Camden Robinson is the community outreach director with Exodus, an anti-human trafficking nonprofit that Amber is now a survivor advocate with. He says Utah is close to big trafficking cities in California and right by Vegas. We have I-15 connecting Mexico to Canada and I-80 intersecting that east to west, a perfect spot for exploitation.
It thrives in the shadows. And so if we shine a light on this issue, it's going to go away.
She just got done with the job.
Candace Rivera is the CEO and founder of Exodus. She took us along on the community outreach work her teams do nightly. It's around 10 o'clock on a weeknight, downtown Salt Lake City. She offers hygiene products to a woman who says she needs to earn $13 more tonight, and a coat to another woman being watched by a man across the street. That woman showed us inside her bag, needles for drugs, and a telling sheet of paper.
And a large piece of paper with a phone number. And typically that phone number is the number she's gonna call when whatever is done or what she was sent out to do is over, and then she reports back.
The outreach teams offer help to the exploited across Utah, medical care, shoes, anything they need, with the goal that someday they'll be able to get them out. But they say they cannot stop this growing problem without the public opening their eyes.
And I firmly believe that if they could conceptualize what is happening in their valley, they would do something about it. But I cannot explain what this looks like to Utah in one segment.
One of the biggest challenges is actually prosecuting these criminals. Amber's own trafficker is out of jail as we speak. Reporting in Salt Lake City, Kelly Vaughn for 2 News.
Zorro.com knows that every job.
Today, Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost announced a statewide sting operation that has saved more than 100 children from the cycle of human trafficking. 2 News reporter Adam Reif is live in the newsroom to break down the new information.
The Attorney General says nearly 200 people were arrested for what he's calling modern-day slavery. The scope of this investigation may be the largest statewide anti-human trafficking operation in Ohio history.
We have undoubtedly saved lives.
109 survivors rescued, dozens of agencies working together, and 177 people arrested in Operation Autumn Hope.
This has been the most successful missing child recovery operation the Marshal Service has ever been engaged in or participated in.
Victims have been connected to social service organizations, and Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost says it's a bigger problem than people may think.
It operates in the shadows. It operates in ways that aren't terribly visible if you don't know what you're looking for.
Law enforcement says it's happening in Ohio neighborhoods.
In those neighborhoods, those involved are caught in a cycle of addiction and abuse, and those that profit prey upon this vulnerable population.
The U.S. Marshal Service says missing children is an epidemic. In 2019, there were around 430,000 missing cases throughout the year. During this operation, marshals closed 84 missing child cases and physically recovered 45 children.
That's 45 children that are returned to a safer environment.
But despite the sting and dozens of arrests, Attorney General Yost says the demand does not seem to go away, likening it to the drug epidemic.
No matter how much enforcement you do, there's always more flowing in behind it.
And so a continued warning from the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and the 60 other law enforcement agencies.
Anybody wants to come to Central Ohio and prey on our children, we're watching, we'll catch you, and we will put you in jail.
Now, both private and public nonprofit organizations are providing services to those victims. Prosecutors are now working to build legal cases against the 177 people arrested for trafficking that'll keep them off the streets. To report trafficking concerns, you can call the National Human Trafficking Hotline. The number on your screen, 1-888-373-7888. You can also find that number on our website under As Seen on 2 News. In the newsroom, Adam Reif, 2 News, working.